All right, so are you ready to dive into some pretty interesting waters today?
Always excited to explore new depths.
Today's deep dive is inspired by a listener submission called 7 Psychology Facts You Never Knew About Women.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
Yeah, definitely a bold title. And before anyone hits that unsubscribe
Yeah,
button,
right?
we're not here to present these as like the ultimate truths about women.
Of course not.
It's more about using this deep dive as a chance to kind of unpack some of these so-called facts,
I like that approach.
explore the psychology that might be behind them, and hopefully spark some interesting thoughts.
Exactly. It's all about sparking those conversations.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. The first fact that caught my eye was this idea that women are just biologically predisposed to be turned off by weakness in men.
Okay.
Interesting. It's funny, though, because it seems like there's this constant mixed message out there.
Yeah, totally.
Like, on one hand, we're told men should be more vulnerable, open up more.
Right, be in touch with their emotions.
But then on the other hand, there's still this expectation for men to be strong, assertive, the classic alpha male.
Yeah, you definitely see both of those messages.
So where does that leave us?
Well, it is a paradox, isn't it? From an evolutionary psychology standpoint, this aversion to weakness might actually go way back.
Oh, how so?
Well, think about the roles men and women played for most of human history.
Okay.
Women often relied on men for protection and provision, especially in a world full of, danger and scarcity.
That makes sense.
So it makes sense that women would be drawn to partners who displayed strength and resilience.
Right, because those qualities kind of signaled survival.
Exactly, both for the woman herself and for potential offspring.
I see. So it's not so much about physical strength, like being able to bench press a truck.
No, not necessarily.
Oh.
Although that's impressive.
It's more about the ability to handle pressure, overcome challenges.
Right, being that reliable rock in a chaotic world.
Exactly.
Showing that you can navigate tough situations effectively.
Okay, so this doesn't mean men should just bottle up all their emotions.
No, not at all. It's more about being strategic about who you confide in.
I like that strategic vulnerability.
Right. Like, sometimes a close male friend or a mentor might be a better choice for certain types of emotional support.
It's like knowing your audience, right?
Exactly. Choose the support system that best fits the situation.
That makes a lot of sense. So thinking about your own experiences, what qualities in a partner make you feel secure and protected?
That's a good question.
And do you think those are mainly influenced by cultural expectations, or is there something deeper going on?
That's something for everyone to ponder.
It is. And this leads us to another interesting concept from this source material, hypergamy.
Okay, that's a big one.
It is. Now, just to be clear, hypergamy is a term used in social science to describe this pattern of individuals partnering up.
Partnering up.
Yeah, in terms of social status or resources.
Ah, you see.
So the source material claims that women are kind of hardwired to seek out partners who are at least their equals, if not superior in these areas.
So basically the idea that women are always looking to level up.
Right. And on the surface, it can sound a bit like, oh, so women are just gold diggers.
Yeah, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it.
But it's obviously way more complicated than that.
Absolutely. There are so many nuances.
There are. So while hypergamy is a recognized social pattern,
Right, it's a real thing.
we can't just reduce it to this idea of women chasing wealth and status.
Definitely not. There are cultural norms, individual preferences.
And don't forget, society is constantly changing.
It is. For example, as women have gained more economic and social power, we've seen shifts in relationship dynamics.
Oh, interesting.
Like how so?
Some studies actually suggest a decline in traditional hypergamy.
Really? So it's not some fixed rule, it's more of a tendency.
Yeah, and that tendency is influenced by a bunch of different factors.
This makes me wonder, though, about the root of it all.
The root.
Yeah. Like, is hypergamy purely a societal construct, or could there be some evolutionary basis for it? Well, that's a great question, and one possible explanation might lie in the concept of sexual selection.
Sexual selection. That sounds a bit like a Darwinian dating show.
Well, in a way it is. In evolutionary biology, sexual selection refers to how certain traits become more common in a species.
Because they help attract mates.
Exactly. Those traits increase an individual's chances of reproducing.
Okay, I'm following.
Now imagine for a second those flashy peacocks.
With their giant feathers.
Yes, those feathers are a classic example of sexual selection.
But what do peacocks have to do with human relationships?
Well, think about it this way. If women historically were seeking partners who could provide resources and protection,
Okay.
then those men who were more successful, more
They
ambitious,
would have had a reproductive advantage.
exactly, they were more likely to attract mates and pass on their genes.
So over time, this preference for successful partners might have become ingrained.
On some level, yes, potentially in female mate selection.
Wow. So what might seem like a shallow preference for winners,
Could actually be a subconscious drive for security and stability.
rooted in our evolutionary past.
That's a fascinating hypothesis.
It is. And it really highlights how important it is to understand the historical and biological context.
When analyzing modern relationships.
Exactly. Now, of course, this doesn't negate the role of cultural factors or individual preferences,
Of course not.
but it adds another layer of complexity to the discussion.
It does.
Now, I want to bring you, the listener, into this conversation. Have you noticed this pattern of hypergamy in your own dating experiences?
What factors influence your choices in a partner?
Are you drawn to ambition and success, or are other qualities more important to you?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and tackle another observation from the source material.
Okay.
The idea of endless testing in relationships.
Oh, that should be good.
This one's a doozy. The source basically claims that women will put men through a series of tests.
Tests.
Yeah, like emotional outbursts, creating conflict, you name it.
To gauge their suitability as a partner?
Exactly. And honestly, it sounds exhausting.
It does sound a bit tiring.
But from a psychological perspective, these tests, as the source calls them, could be seen as subconscious attempts to assess a partner.
Assess them how?
Their emotional stability, resilience, ability to handle pressure.
So it's not just about being manipulative or playing games.
Right. There might be a deeper reason.
Interesting.
Again, think about it from an evolutionary perspective. If a woman is looking for a partner who can provide a stable and secure environment,
For her and potential children.
right, she needs to know that he can handle stress-resolve conflict and stay emotionally grounded.
When things get tough.
Exactly.
Mm.
So these tests might be a way of gathering information about those crucial qualities.
It's like a subconscious vetting process.
I like that. So it's not just about seeing if he can bring home the bacon.
It's about more than just providing resources.
It's about ensuring he can handle the emotional roller coaster of a long-term relationship.
the ups and downs of life together.
Exactly. But how does this tie in with what we were talking about earlier?
About strength and success.
Yeah. Are these tests just another way of gauging a man's ability to provide and protect?
That's definitely possible. If we think about the bigger evolutionary picture,
Okay.
these behaviors might all be connected. A man who stays calm under pressure.
Who can resolve conflicts effectively,
He's demonstrating those same qualities of competence and resilience.
that we talked about earlier,
Right, he's showing he can handle whatever life throws his way.
which translates to a feeling of security for his partner.
Exactly.
So maybe instead of getting defensive or feeling attacked when these so-called tests come up,
Men could see them as opportunities.
to show those core qualities women are looking for.
It's a more constructive way of framing it.
For sure. It's about understanding the motivations behind the behavior
And responding in a way that builds trust.
and reinforces those qualities of a strong, reliable partner.
Exactly.
Okay, listeners, this is where I want you to really think back to your own experiences. Have you ever felt tested in a relationship?
How did you react?
And looking back, what do you think your partner was trying to learn about you?
Was it about your emotional stability?
Your ability to communicate under pressure?
Take a moment to reflect on those experiences.
Maybe you can uncover some hidden meanings or motivations.
Food for thought.
And while you're pondering that, let's move on to another theme from the source material.
Okay?
The need for security. The source claims that even with all the advancements in gender equality,
Right.
women still crave security, both physically and emotionally.
Interesting. But doesn't that seem a bit outdated?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, sure, everyone wants to feel secure,
Of course.
but does it always have to be the man's job to provide that?
That's where things get a bit nuanced, I think.
Nuances are always good.
What defines security probably differs from person to person.
Right. It's not one size fits all.
It could be influenced by cultural background, personal experiences.
Individual values,
Exactly. It's not about sticking to those traditional gender roles.
with the man as the sole provider.
Right, that damsel in distress narrative is a bit outdated.
Exactly. It's more about finding a partnership where both people can thrive.
I like that.
But how has the definition of security itself evolved in today's world?
That's a great question. What does security mean to you?
To all of you listening out there,
Has your definition changed over time?
maybe it's about feeling supported and safe to pursue your own goals.
Knowing you have a partner who believes in you.
Who's there for you through thick and thin.
That's beautifully put. It's about having a solid foundation.
Built on trust
Mutual respect.
and a shared vision for the future.
I like that.
So the next time you hear someone say that women just want security,
Challenge them to dig a little deeper.
explore what that word truly means.
In the context of modern relationships.
And speaking of challenging assumptions, let's tackle another fact from the source material.
Okay, hit me with it.
This one often generates a lot of controversy. The classic nice guys finish last.
Oh yeah, that's a familiar one.
The source argues that this nice guy persona can actually backfire when it comes to attracting women.
But why would being nice be a bad thing?
Right. Shouldn't kindness and consideration be universally appealing?
In theory, yes. But the psychology behind this is quite interesting. It's not really about being nice or not nice.
Oh, so there's more to it.
It's about authenticity. Sometimes nice guy behavior can be perceived as inauthentic,
Inauthentic.
even manipulative.
Oh, I see.
Imagine someone showering you with compliments and gifts, but it doesn't feel genuine.
Okay.
It's like they're trying to win you over or get something in return.
That can feel a bit creepy.
Exactly. It's disingenuous.
But it's not about being a jerk.
No, not at all.
It's about being genuine.
And expressing your interest in a way that feels authentic and respectful.
Okay, so what's the alternative to the nice guy persona then?
What kind of behavior do you think is more attractive?
I'm guessing confidence plays a role
Definitely, confidence and assertiveness are often seen as more attractive.
because they signal self-assurance.
And a willingness to go after what you want.
This doesn't mean being arrogant or domineering though, right?
It's about knowing your worth and expressing your desires clearly and directly.
So it's not about being a nice guy or a bad boy.
right.
It's about being yourself,
knowing what you want.
communicating that in a confident and respectful way.
Finding that sweet spot between kindness and assertiveness.
I like that. So it all comes back to authenticity.
Always.
And this leads us to another crucial point from the source material,
What's that?
the importance of setting boundaries and earning respect.
Okay, I'm listening. The source emphasizes that tolerating disrespect can be a slippery slope, especially early on in a relationship.
It's like you set a precedent.
If you let someone walk all over you from the beginning.
You might think that's just how things are going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this advice isn't just for romantic relationships, is it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I think setting boundaries is crucial in all kinds of relationships.
Absolutely. With friends, family members, colleagues.
Even strangers.
It's about knowing what you're comfortable with.
And what you won't tolerate.
And then communicating those limits clearly.
And assertively.
Exactly. It's about respecting yourself enough to say, hey, that's not okay with me.
And expecting others to respect those boundaries too.
Right.
I think a lot of people struggle with this though.
They do, especially if they're naturally conflict averse.
Or people pleasers.
It's a skill that definitely takes practice.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's so important for healthy relationships.
It is. Think about it this way. If you don't have boundaries,
You're basically giving others permission to treat you however they want.
that's a powerful way to put it.
So listeners, what are some of your non-negotiables in relationships?
What are those behaviors that you just won't tolerate?
And how do you communicate those boundaries effectively?
It's worth thinking about.
Okay, let's move on to the final fact from the source material.
Okay, what's the last one?
This one's guaranteed to spark some debate.
Oh boy. I'm intrigued.
Women seek winners.
Okay, before we get into this one,
Deep breaths, everyone.
I think it's important to acknowledge that this statement can be easily misinterpreted.
For sure. It's not about some cutthroat mentality.
Where women are only interested in partners who are like at the top of the food chain.
Right. It's not that superficial.
When the source talks about winners,
They're probably talking about ambition,
I
a
suppose
sense of purpose,
it's about being passionate about something,
pursuing your goals with enthusiasm.
striving for excellence in your own way.
It's about having that inner fire,
That inspires and motivates.
both you and those around you.
Think about it. If you're with someone who's stagnant, unmotivated,
Just going through the motion.
that lack of passion can be contagious.
But if you're with someone who's constantly learning, growing,
Pushing themselves to be better.
that energy can be incredibly attractive.
It can?
So it's not about winning at all costs.
Right.
It's about having that winner's mindset.
That belief in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals.
And I think that can be incredibly attractive.
Absolutely.
Regardless of gender, it's about aligning yourself with someone who shares your values,
Who inspires you to be your best self.
who adds to your life in a positive and meaningful way.
Exactly.
Okay, listeners, time for some introspection.
What does it mean to be a winner in life?
How do you define success?
And how can you strive for excellence in your own unique way?
Share your thoughts with us on social media using #DeepDiveWinners.
We'd love to hear your perspectives.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to take a step back.
And consider the big picture.
We've talked about aversion to weakness, hypergamy, the need for
The
security,
importance of boundaries.
and this idea of seeking out winners.
What do you think connects all these concepts?
That's a great question. Initially I thought we'd be focusing on surface-level differences between men and women.
Right.
But this conversation has gone so much deeper than that.
It has.
It's really about understanding those fundamental human needs and desires.
That drive our behavior in relationships.
Whether we're talking about the desire for security, the need for connection,
The drive for personal growth.
these are universal human experiences.
That transcend gender.
And it's fascinating to me that even though the source material was framed in the context of heterosexual relationships,
These insights can be applied to any type of relationship.
regardless of gender or sexual orientation,
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the complexity of human relationships.
and understanding that we all bring our own unique set of needs, desires, and experiences to the table.
We do.
And it's about approaching those relationships with empathy, understanding.
And a willingness to learn and grow together.
So even though the source material presented these facts in a somewhat provocative way,
It did.
I think it sparked a really valuable conversation.
About the deeper dynamics at play in all our relationships.
I completely agree. It's about moving beyond those simplistic generalizations.
And engaging in thoughtful dialogue.
That helps us better understand ourselves and each other.
I like that.
This is a reminder to never take anything at face value.
Especially when it comes to complex topics like relationships.
Always question, analyze.
And form your own conclusions.
But based on the evidence and your own lived experiences.
And most importantly, never stop learning and growing.
Well said. Now let's turn the conversation back to you, the listener.
Do any of these observations resonate with your own experiences?
Have you encountered similar patterns in your own relationships?
Whether romantic, platonic, or professional.
How do you think cultural factors and societal expectations influence these dynamics?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Head over to social media and share your reflections using the #, Deep Dive Relationships.
And as always, remember to keep exploring, keep questioning
And keep diving deep.
into the fascinating world of human connection.
Until next time. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We have quite a journey.
Explored some pretty
Thought-provoking ideas.
thought-provoking concepts. And even though the source material gave us this framework of 7 facts,
Right.
I think we've really gone beyond that.
We have. It's been more about those deeper motivations.
Yeah, the underlying needs that drive our behavior.
In any relationship, really.
Exactly. Whether it's the desire for security, the need for connection, or that drive for personal growth.
It's all connected.
And to our amazing listener who submitted this material,
Yeah, big thanks to them.
thank you for inspiring such an engaging and thought-provoking conversation.
Your curiosity really led us down some fascinating paths.
And to all our listeners out there,
Yes, to everyone tuning in.
we hope this deep dive has given you some new insights into the complexities of relationships.
And all those hidden forces at play
Remember, these are just starting points.
for your own exploration.
We encourage you to continue the conversation online.
Share your thoughts on social media.
Use the #, Deep Dive Relationships.
What resonated with you?
What surprised you?
What challenged your thinking?
We'd love to hear your perspectives.
And remember, at the end of the day,
The most fulfilling relationships are those built on mutual respect, open communication.
and a genuine desire to understand and support each other.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So keep exploring
Keep questioning
and keep diving deep.
into the fascinating world of human connection.
Until next time.
See you then.